Welcome to Gallant Conversations. Gallant is a business-to-business consultancy specializing in industrial innovation.
We drive growth for our clients through strategies and insights in brand management and strategic communications.
If you're in an industry focused on progress at the macro level, we're here to facilitate a conversation, starting now.
So here we are again, Gallant Conversations, a little special edition for Valentine's Day. Brandy, I think Valentine's Day has, many different kind of ways in which we can celebrate it. But in terms of B2B, in terms of individuals, in terms of, the workplace, I think it primes for an awesome kind of segue in terms of like human connection and meaningful relationship development, not just the romance side of it, but like, give me your take. I mean, you got some kids and they're taking Valentine's Day to the next level, right?
Oh, they're over the top, James. They're
really?
They have basically negotiated their Valentine's Day gifts, and like that is the new Valentine's Day.
So it's not just
they think
Christmas.
It's the new Christmas. Yeah, they think
Wow.
Valentine's is the new Christmas, and really, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that, but it's fun. It's fun to celebrate love. It's fun to celebrate the things that you're grateful for. It's fun to celebrate, any sort of, joy that you derive from just any sort of, connection. And one of the things that I think is interesting about B2B is, so much of it, of successful business to business interface has to do with those relationships and things like that, and really enjoying the people you're around. Like, do you enjoy, don't you love our clients?
God, I love it. It's great. And I love our team.
Yeah.
And
Do you love your job?
On a good day.
Describe your job. Tell people what you do.
What do I do? I guess my title says I'm the director of operations, but what does that mean? I don't know. I've been called the flow master or task master. So on certain different days, that is kind of shifting itself. Just coordinating, making sure that we're up on par. All the tasks are being completed. Certain deliverables are being thrown back to the client, vice versa. Working on some internal stuff like this podcast and all that stuff.
And there's a lot of strategy involved.
A lot of strategy and vision, and really trying to articulate where we are and where we want to be, not just for this year, but for the next 2, 3, 5 years. So I kind of look at that.
Okay, what's your favorite part? What do you love the most?
I love talking with you.
Yay!
That's the best part, right? Especially on this little, this little podcast that we got going on.
Okay, so what's your second favorite part?
Second favorite part, I think by way of coming to Gallant, I was a writer, and I really love the writing aspect of it, and coupling that with a strategy and a vision for us or for a client is, I would say, my second favorite.
And then your CliftonStrengths are, you've got learner,
let's
you've got, you've got command, you've got
analytical,
intellection,
self-assurance. Tell me, what does that mean to you?
Well, I think that it's fun to look at your CliftonStrengths and see if it tracks with the things that you love the most about your job. And if it doesn't, you need to get another job. That's scary to say that, but really you're spending, 8, 10, 12, sometimes 14 hours a day on something. And if you don't love your job, then it's just gonna affect every other element of your life. So when you're looking at your CliftonStrengths, do you see how you've parlayed all of those strengths into like a very diverse to-do list every day?
Yeah, I do. Because, it's a constant learning atmosphere, especially when we bring on new clients and getting to understand them a little bit. And I think I leverage the analytical side of it, maybe a little bit too much from your facial expression.
I'm glad for the ballast. I'm very grateful for the ballast.
Yeah. And then, I guess the self-insurance and command come in through when, you develop out this vision, this strategy, these thoughts develop it, put it into writing, then you have to execute, right? So I think, that's where the command and self-assurance goes. So, yeah, I mean, I think in those aspects, I love what I do. I love what I'm doing here with Gallant and getting the chance to speak with you all the time and collaborate with our team. But
we have a killer team. Oh my gosh.
But I mean, okay, so like in terms of the CliftonStrengths and in terms of the individual, like how does that, like how do you approach that in terms of the coaching part of?
I think that one thing that we struggle with, and I've probably talked about it at other podcasts, but it's very difficult for people right now, and maybe it's always been, but I don't think so. I think that we are inundated with so many choices, which is wonderful. It's exciting. But it's difficult to articulate what we want and who we are. And I think that CliftonStrengths gives us a very clear tool to be able to say, hey, this is who I am. These are the things I love the most about me. And I hope you love them too. Because if you do, then we can produce amazing work together. So it really kind of helps people talk about what they want to be seen, or in my experience, and one of the things that I think is very validating about the tool is people see it, they take it, and they go, oh my gosh, wow, I feel seen, I feel heard, I feel like I'm able to describe the person that I am, and being able to do that enables you to show up as that person and then be celebrated as that person. And that's really kind of what it's all about, right? I mean, I'm trying to think, you're so versatile. I'm trying to think of something that, because you could really, James, you can do anything, but what is something that you just wouldn't want?
I wouldn't want to do what Casey does in terms of the graphic design stuff.
Oh, well,
I don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
That's probably a good idea, because you'll embarrass yourself, and so will I.
That's a skill that I do not have.
Well, you might have it, and a lot of people have it. No, I haven't seen anybody that have it like she has it, though. So, and especially given the fact that she can tie that creativity with that that perfection and that precision. It's something. It's remarkable.
Yeah.
It's remarkable.
Do you ever come across somebody that just like the results? I mean, it's 34. You could be there's a top 5 report, right?
Yep.
And you can be, your top 5 takes 34. Like, it's a whole assessment, all these questions, and then, from the 34 that are available, you have the top 5 that are concentrated into defining who you are and how you can best leverage your strength to help you as an individual grow and then collaborate with your team. You ever come across anybody that is just like, what, this is awful, this doesn't hit with me or anything?
There are a few strengths that just make people uncomfortable, and they're not super excited about getting them. Like, significance is one of them.
Ooh, okay.
Because it reads in some ways as kind of like you think you're the best, but that's not really what it is. It's really like you think you are a vehicle for change, or it's not. So it feels a little crunchy, and then you can explain it to somebody. They're like, oh, I'm not this way, but let's talk about this. And then, oh yeah, you have to
dive deeper into it.
You do have to dive deeper into it. There are a few like that. Command, you and I both have command. Command is tricky. I mean, it's hard. It took me a long time to convince myself that it was a strength, because, I mean, essentially command is like, we will do this, You
love to do that.
I do, and I just hurt myself when I did it. But, and when you've got two people like you and I.
Do you see friction when you have a lot of people with command in a team?
Yes, of course. Yes. But
it could also be leveraged as an asset.
It can be leveraged as an asset, because if they're on the same page, which, I mean, you would hope that they would be most of the time, then you've got a lot of critical mass behind things, and that's very powerful. And command, the best side of command is clarity. So if somebody has command, they're able to create a space of clarity. You know where you stand with that particular idea or person or what have you. So that's a really good attribute, but it took me a long time to realize, am I comfortable with owning that?
You also, I mean, I'm looking at your strengths right now. It's on our website, like for each team member and stuff. And you have strategic, activator, communication, command, and woo. So like the command and the activator bit, like that, 100%. But like, talk to me a little bit about this woo-woo stuff.
It's not woo-woo. It's winning over others.
Winning over others, got it.
Yeah.
So it's an acronym.
Yes.
Okay.
And it also is like wooing somebody. So
Gotcha.
What is that? What is that? That language structure where like it sounds like what it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know. But is it an onomatopoeia? No, that's something else. Anyway. So winning over others just means that you're able to, I think, delight in the things that they're delighting, that they're delighted by about them. That to me is, and that's where I think common ground can form. And basically, like I try to see something in someone that they might enjoy about themselves, and then I try to enjoy it with them.
Yeah.
And that's how I do it. There are other ways of doing it, but that to me is because it's fun. It's fun to do that. It's fun for everybody.
And I mean, I think also like a little hidden talent of yours is you're able to like not only do that, but also find something hidden within somebody and activate it that they may not even know about. But that's a conversation for another day.
I mean, I think that just because I really like people. Oh my gosh, we just had the best conversation with this kid.
Yeah.
And I mean, golly, what was he talking about? He paints these little figurines, and I found that so interesting. Like, if you just talk to people about what they love, you can tell so much about their personalities and their behavior. Just like, what are their hobbies?
How it transitions into the workplace,
yes.
Right? Because of how like detailed and like, he has to sit down for quite some time to paint and kind of calibrate this figurine, not just for himself as like a nice little bookshelf ornament or what have you, but also like to play the board game, right? So it tells you like he's a programmer, he's into coding and software development and stuff like that, and he could be on the computer for like freaking 12 hours probably, just diligently focused on one singular task and function and complete it to its end, right? And that would probably resonate.
That is magnificent too. I mean, and this, I felt like he knew what he wanted when we were talking to him. He was like, I like creating things. I like developing a product at the end. And then he parlayed that into his hobbies. And anyway, it's really, really interesting. So I think CliftonStrengths helps you articulate what you want, what you want celebrated in yourself. What is your favorite strength? What out of all of
I have to go back to him. Analytical learner. What's the other one? Let's look at it really quick. Learner, analytical, intellection, command, self-assurance. I don't know if I have a favorite. Maybe the learner.
What is the one that you have the most fun with?
Probably learner.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm always like not as much. Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm always kind of tinkering around with stuff and all that good bit, trying to experiment.
And what a great time to be alive with learner.
For sure,
as
like AI and stuff like that.
It's amazing. It's so fun. It's so fun.
Yeah.
But no, I think if we just get down to brass tacks, like what is the most fun thing in your work day, and see if you can do more of that.
Well, then, okay, so like that's the individual. So like, I'm curious, when you do these workshop retreats and stuff like that, and then you bring on a team, right? And now you have 5, 10, 50 individuals of a department or a team. Talk to me about that process, like fitting these little puzzle pieces and like what happens, like, okay, like say you have a whole team and every single one of them is got command or, you know, is strategic. Like, is that an issue? Like, we kind of pointed to it as an individual, what have you, a little bit earlier, but like, I guess talk to me through that process of the team building.
It's all, you can always coach through strengths, even if you do have a team that is less balanced than is ideal. You can always coach through strengths. And part of it is because when you have a group of people that know what they're capable of versus a group of people that don't know what they're capable of, I mean, just that alone is going to upgrade a group experience, right?
Yep.
Ideally, you've got a lot more diversity of thought, and you've got some people that are really great at this and some people that are really great at this, and you all come together and you're building, you know, palaces, and it's just incredible, right? But you can always get further along faster if you know what you're about and what the people around you are about. And that's why I think it's a really good shortcut. So if everybody had command, then you would want to make sure you would, instead of spending time trying to like decide who the leader is, what you would want to do is rely on a secondary strength to ensure that these folks would all have similar values and goals. So you would spend a lot of time trying to get everybody on the same page, and then sending them out into, you know, different quadrants of the world to work together. Yeah. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
So think of a general and then colonels all over it. I don't know.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
Little military stuff. Okay, and then like walk me through the process of like these little workshop retreats. I mean, you've done a few of them. I've been present. You know, it's kind of cool. And I mean, we're kind of experimenting right now with like the biohacking and how to incorporate that. I don't want to get too into the, you know,
yeah, we've got some cool things coming up with it.
But like, yeah. I mean,
so the thing that we like to do with CliftonStrengths, we offer all of the standard kind of like grouped optimization and individual coaching and all of that sort of thing. I think what is interesting to me is that when you are creating a strength-based organization, you're signaling a lot of things about your brand, right? So you're signaling that you treasure diversity of thought. Okay, because we've said this a million times. The likelihood of you sharing the top 5 in the same order with another person is 1 in 30 million. That's a crazy statistic, but people just have these unique gifts that they bring to the table. And whenever you say, I'm going to become a strength-based organization, you're saying, my brand values diversity of thought. My brand really cares about seeing individual contributors as part of a whole. So this idea that we're greater than the sum of our parts, which then translates in a B2B space as I'm a collaborative organization. So if you're buying from this company that is, you know, a strength-based organization, you can anticipate and you should expect more collaboration than you might otherwise get, because they're signaling that. They're saying that that's important. So what I'm really interested in is, how do we take this love of self, right? And this understanding of self, and turn that into a facet of the enterprise, and this celebration of collaboration, and turn it into a facet of the enterprise. And those things translate into your brand values. And that to me is something that is so unique, because we are, you know, we're a brand and culture firm.
Yeah, and I mean
in B2B, so it just kind of it all flows.
Yeah, and with our brand foundation, like the guidelines, the book that, I mean, it's a 100-page book or whatever that we develop out, and we.
Yeah, I don't do that little
mood board stuff or whatever.
Well, no, that whole like, oh, here's your logo 4 ways, and like, come on, like it is a book that describes the soul of the organization and how to, like, actually, create resonance. So anybody who is aligned in your values and who cares about the job that they're doing. So you have to be aligned in the values, and you have to have a certain, baseline of excellence. They should be able to take that book and become an asset to your brand, right? And create resonance.
And one way in which you can develop out that brand, whether it's a spinoff or from scratch or what have you, is first CliftonStrengths, optimization of an individual, optimization of a team, find commonality within that team, and then it kind of organically shapes the brand of your organization in a sense.
It does. And then maybe not your brand pillars per se, but certainly your brand
Mission,
values.
Vision, visual, verbal identity, not so much.
What I think is interesting is that if you do CliftonStrengths, so typically when a company decides to do hardcore brand work, okay, like, you're really digging into the truth of your company, where it is today and where you want to take it. You should, I'm not saying that you are, but you should have a very diverse group of stakeholders, right? You should have maybe a couple of customers. You should have people in a lot of different functions. You should have people that have like a good front wheel kind of, people skills, and you should have technical people, and those people should all come to the table to help articulate that reality and then that future vision, right? Because that's essentially what we're talking about. Doing CliftonStrengths during that time is the best. Like, it's just the best. Like, doing CliftonStrengths when you're about to start building an offshore platform, it's great. Like, anytime you're doing any sort of big giant project where you've got a lot of people coming together, it makes sense to do it.
So it's not like the workshop retreats. It's something that it can be refined, done on a quarterly, annual basis, or to your point, like when there's a big project in play, right? But like actually taking the assessment and stuff, we don't advise taking it more than once. And if you have, you want to do the first one and keep to the first one, because the second, because like, I don't know, like these assessments, right? Like, it's funny, you can kind of game the system a little bit once you start to get to understand like what it's really trying to get after. And then atop that, another thing separate from gaming it, which I've kind of realized is, at least in my opinion, I feel like certain questions and the way in which you answer them over the course of time changes naturally with kind of where you are at with life, whether personal or professionally, right? So, how do you speak to that, right? Like,
so I'm not a behavioral psychologist. I'm just somebody that loves people. There are plenty of brilliant behavioral psychologists that have studied this test. It's the most validated test on personality test on the planet. And their position is that usually, if all other things aside, if you take the test the first time, it's going to give you the most accurate results, accurate to who you are. Now, if you take the test and you're taking the test and it's at the hospital while you're, somebody's delivering a baby or something, it might not be accurate. So you might want to retake it. But generally speaking, if all other things are somewhat even keel, then it's a good snapshot. And that's essentially what they say. You don't just keep retaking it. But if you do, your strengths shouldn't just like totally flip-flop. I mean, they move. They've studied this, right? And typically they move maybe one or two places, but it's not usually that significant.
Yeah, and like other different assessments, like you're saying, like Clifton is the best. There's the Myers-Briggs, got Enneagram or whatever. Human design, Brett shared with us the other day.
Yeah, that's different. That's
not even a personality assessment. That's more of like a horoscope.
That's some horoscope stuff. But it's interesting. Sure, why not? Throw it all in the mix. But
and then Drive.
The Drive is so we're certified in Drive. Drive is really to help people understand what motivates you. So it's very complementary to CliftonStrengths. We can always pull in other tools. We got certified in Drive so that we could, in fact, add that to CliftonStrengths because it's a wonderful tool for recognition. So when you're in a group setting, it's sort of like love languages, right? So when people talk about love languages, they talk about how they express love, but then they also talk about how they like to receive an expression of love. When we talk about the Drive, when we talk about CliftonStrengths, we're very much talking about what we are oriented towards in terms of our talents. But there's another component to that, and you can presume that if you continue to focus on, the things you're best at, you're going to feel energized. But there are just certain things that are that just might take you out. Okay, so regardless. Right. So for me, like if I have to find a file and I can't find it immediately, I'm done. I'm done. And it drains me. So, but if I have an opportunity to have a conversation with somebody and I see their eyes light up and all of a sudden we've co-created this amazing idea that they then go do, oh my gosh, I'm like, it's it. Like, that is it. So the Drive is going to tell you that. The Drive is going to tell you what's going to put you in like an energetic state and motivate you, and then it's going to tell you what you can come crashing down on. And what happens is that if you know that, then you can reward people and you can reward and recognize people according to the way they like to receive rewards and recognition. Mm-hmm. So it's really interesting. These things all sort of can fit very nicely together.
Yeah. I mean, I see it on an everyday basis in terms of how we apply it, right? Mm-hmm. But I think, all right, so we stair step from the individual to the team and the department to the brand. Mm-hmm. And then, I mean, since this is like a special Valentine's edition and it's all about meaningful connections, not the romantic part, but that
human connection.
Human connection and, how to fall in love with, your brand or whatever the heck. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, one thing that I think is misinterpreted in terms of the brand bit, right, is you look a lot you see a lot of times just short wins and stuff like that, right? People are posting for short term kind of engagement and opportunistic opportunities, if I can put those two words together. But I mean, talk to me about the cultural anthropology kind of component to building a brand and how that helps nurture that sense of connection and meaningful relationship. Maybe high level it, we can save that for another episode. But it just kind of sparked a thought in me.
So I think, anytime you get a group of people together and they're celebrating common experiences, I mean, there are certain markers, and I'm wanted to be a cultural anthropologist. I'm not, but there are certain markers that indicate, a group, a tribe, a state, this
chiefdom,
sort of thing.
kingdom.
Yeah, those sorts of things, and common language, common rituals, common stories, common experiences. All of those sorts of things enable you to move together as a group. And if you could move together as a group, and then you're oriented towards certain things that are part of your brand promise or part of the way that you deliver on your brand promise, and you're moving together as an organism, you can imagine how much more successful you're going to be. Mm-hmm. I've seen companies that have this just undercurrent of tonality in their culture that is not necessarily in the wall or on the wall in the cafeteria or anything like that. It's just this is the way this company is, and people have that common experience. And then sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not good. I mean, I think the oil and gas industry has had a lot of backlash because of some of the things that some of the culture, and I've always said so much of that is misguided. It's you've also got this culture of teaching and celebrating and this sort of thing. It is a teaching culture, but individual companies or individual industries have their own kind of tonality and common common experiences. So being mindful of it's going to happen in anything. So this is one thing that I do want to point out. That is an element that can translate into your brand, just like any other piece can translate into your brand. Being mindful of that and managing it with intention is what brand management is. It doesn't mean that you're going to always get to control it, because there are so many outside forces that can, contribute to work of good brand management, contribute to the work of good cultural management. All of those things. There are also forces that can erode good brand management and good cultural management. But if you are intentional about the things that you can be intentional about, then you're going to be that much further ahead. And that's why we think culture is such an important element to brand.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's intentional. It doesn't happen by accident, right? Like some of those brands that you see.
Some of it does happen by accident. So be intentional about the things that you can be intentional about.
Like the things that people value or what have you.
That's right.
Yeah. And like having an opportunity for leaders to kind of use a long-term, culturally aware approach to build that culture and that brand for that company and business.
Yeah, I think that's one thing about CliftonStrengths. Well, any of these programs, like you have to work them. You cannot just do a little workshop and then exit stage left and go, oh, they're going to remember forever. No, you have to stay on top of these things. So
just like in a personal relationship, I guess.
Just like anything, yes. Yeah. I mean, you have to do the work, and that means but it doesn't take that much. I mean, the thing that Gallup says is that if you just spend 5 minutes a day, that's nothing. Reflecting on your strengths, 5 minutes a week even, just revisiting them and thinking about what it is that you can contribute and how you can better parlay your strengths into particular responsibilities. You're going to be so much more satisfied with your life. You're going to, just put that extra effort into the things that you love. It makes sense. And I do think that it's a wonderful framework for leaders, but you have to continually use it, just like any of these.
So like love is a leadership tool.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a book Chris Petrie wrote, along with a bunch of other folks. Chris is a Houston guy, really cool guy, and it's called Love as a Business Strategy. That's a great book. And then another one that I can recommend if we're doing, book recommendations.
Yeah, I was about to ask you.
Is there's a guy named Marcus Buckingham who is he spent the early part of his career working with Don Clifton and I think was very, very involved at Gallup for many years, and he has his own consulting firm. But so he's very familiar and works hand in glove with them and with Gallup, and it's called Love at Work. And his whole thing is, again, like what I said, if you don't love what you're doing, then you really need to figure something else out, because it can be the number one determinant of happiness and satisfaction.
So yeah, and I'll leave you on this one note, which is and maybe it'd be kind of a cool thing for others to share as well, which is like, what's the one thing that you love about yourself and also your team?
What's the thing that I love about myself and also my team? The thing that I love the most about myself in this context is that it's very easy and also very sincere for me to get excited about other people's progress, and I love that I have the opportunity to see those things. So I think it's like that combination of like getting excited about really cool stuff and then having the opportunity to get excited about really cool stuff. And then my team, y'all are just brilliant. Y'all are just so brilliant and resourceful and incredible and, creative and full of integrity, and you do what you say you're going to do, and you do it better than you said you were going to do it. And I'm really proud of our team. And yeah, so that's what I got. What about you?
I was asking the question. I didn't expect it to be thrown back at me. Love about myself?
Yes.
I think what I love about myself is, darn it, Brandy.
That's good. You're like, there's so many things I love about myself.
I'm like trying to rattle in my head, like, what is there? No, I think what I love is about myself is, ability to just kind of get excited about some of the things that you get excited about and then follow through and just freaking try to make something out of nothing. I think that's something that
something out of nothing? You're saying that my enthusiasm is nothing?
No. Your enthusiasm is 100% there. But then, like putting the pieces to the puzzle and getting it to work and bringing it to the marketplace is a whole different bit, right? Yeah. So we have a couple of things in play right now that we're developing out internally. Not ready to kind of share, what have you. So just working up on that type of stuff.
So making things happen.
Sure. I think that's something that I love about myself. And I think what I love about the team is, I guess maybe this is the wrong word to say, but the gumption or the wherewithal to, support your vision, our kind of collective, and kind of helping shape great product. And, I think that's incredible. That would be my answer.
Well, it's good. It's good to love what you do. It's important.
Yeah.
It's really important.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. On that note, a little special edition. We'll get back at you next time. But
okay.
No. Yeah. Thank you, Brandy.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks for joining this conversation with Gallant.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode and gained meaningful insight.
If you find this entertaining or helpful, subscribe and leave us a review.
And don't forget to share this conversation with your network.
For more resources and to stay updated with Gallant Insights and our amazing client portfolio companies, visit gallantculture.com.
Join us next time as we continue to explore perspectives within the industrial innovation space propelling us forward.
Until then, we ask you to stay thoughtful and curious.